let's sprinkle a little bit of hope. Let's talk about something very, very joyous because we as humans, how do I say this? I'm a people first person, and I say that a lot because I am, because people think that because I talk about animals and I try to come from a rational point of view. And not saying that my point of view is the only correct point of view. There are different opinions and all that kind of stuff that people have, and that's fine. But we take animals for granted oftentimes. And not only do we take animals for granted oftentimes, but we also do some pretty shitty things to animals. And in this case, an animal that is basically as close as you can get to a sentient life form. Like these things, they are smart. They have societies. Like they are, for all intents and purposes, as close to humans as we that you can possibly be. And we do some terrible things to our own kind. So like you can understand why an animal people can dissociate that because people dissociate from other people. But I think we have come, hopefully, started to come out of that mindset. At least a lot of us have. And a 28-year-old captive chimpanzee is seeing the sun, the sky, for the first time. And that is a beautiful thing. Um, it's very sad. And like, if this doesn't bring a, you know, not necessarily going to cry over this, but like, oof, it tugs at that heartstring. Look at that thing's face. Like, look at its face. It's like the movie Room. The kid didn't know what the outside was like. Didn't realize how big the world was. I bet this chimp probably feels the same way. And we think, well, in the wild, all these things that they have to go through, the violence, and that may be true, but that's what they are accustomed to. That is what their natural order is, their life is. Vanilla, a 28-year-old chimpanzee, has lived her entire life in captivity without an unobscured view of the sky. But now, a heartwarming new video shows the great ape seeing the sky for the first time at an island chimp sanctuary in Florida. For a portion of her early life, Vanilla lived inside a New York biomedical research facility when she and dozens of other chimps were housed in small cages suspended from the ground like bird cages, according to the statement from Save the Chimps, a sanctuary in Fort Pierce, Florida, that rescued her and 29 of her peers. After being removed from the New York facility in 1995, Vanilla and other captive chimps were shipped to the Wildlife Way Station, an animal rescue facility in California that shuttered in 2019, where she was boxed inside a roofed enclosure cut off from the outside world, according to Daily Mail. In California, Vanilla lived with a handful of chimps inside a chain link fence cage with no grass and very little enrichment. Andrew Holleran, a primatologist and director of Save the Chimps, told New York Post. Um, After the Wildlife Way Station closed, Vanilla and members of her cohorts came to save the chimps via a FedEx plane. That's part of FedEx Cares, a global community engagement group, before arriving to the organization's sanctuary in a semi truck. After spending time in quarantine, a standard procedure at the sanctuary, the chimps were gradually introduced into one of the facility's larger family groups, according to the statement. In the recent release video, Vanilla, at first hesitant, can be seen leaping out of the doorway and embraced by Dwight, a male chimp. Throughout the clip, she repeatedly looks skyward as she explores her new grassy, open air habitat on the 3-acre island. Shake, another rescued chimp, went out onto the island without hesitation, but Vanilla was a little bit more apprehensive when the door opened to this new world. Save the Chimp represents representatives wrote in the statement. She sat in the doorway until Dwight, the alpha male, encouraged her to join him. We're going to play that video. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, that if that doesn't bring a little hope to your heart, if that doesn't, that face right there doesn't show you that that animal has a thought process, that it is not just empty thoughts. I mean, I don't think anyone can really lie to themselves and be like, oh yeah, no, chimps, or I get this dismissiveness from people a lot when it comes to chimps because they are oftentimes compared to, like, people think automatically, how do I say this? People dismiss them because they don't like the fact that a lot of people say things like, we share so much of our, like 98% of our DNA. People dismiss them because they're like, we didn't evolve from monkeys, we didn't evolve from a chimp, do we look like chimps? Like, that is it's the wrong way to look at things. These are still animals, and these are still very smart animals. Not all people do this, but I've met plenty who almost don't like them because they have been told that we are so much like them. And we did not come directly from chimps. That's a very big misunderstanding that people have. We Chimps are not our ancestors. They are cousins. They are a sister group, whatever you want to call it. We had a common ancestor way back when, but we did not evolve from chimps. And, I'll have people in the comment section, that bring religion into it as well, and which is fine. I understand it. I grew up very religious, and I still have my beliefs here and there. But it's not about that. I don't think you, I don't. They can both fit. They can both coincide together. There's nothing that is say in the Bible that says that this is not something that can work together. Like, evolution is a theory, true. There's a lot that could be said about it that we just don't know. But to our best knowledge, when it comes to scientific research and all of the work that has gone into figuring out where we came from, and DNA evidence and all these genetics, we are related to them in some sort of way. So there is a connection, I believe, people have to gray apes in general. You may not like that. You may not like that fact, but it is there, and there's a reason that we have this connection. And when you see an animal that is so close to us with the same emotions that somebody who is in captivity, who didn't see the sun, who didn't see the sky, who never touched grass, you have empathy to that. And it doesn't even have to be a chimp. There are a lot of animals who probably would act the same sort of way when they touch grass for the same time. They get excited. You can see that. And with these animals, these chimps, it could be an orca in captivity as well. If Free Willy, I know that's just a movie, but like, it's the same concept. Animals in captivity, who some of them are not meant to be in captivity. Not that any animal is meant to be in captivity, but there is a difference between having them in something that is not adequate for their survival naturally, and, like, if a snake is in an enclosure and it has everything it needs and it has plenty of space and, like, it is able to do that, it's not the same thing as having a snake, a 10-foot snake in a 10-gallon enclosure. It doesn't have that life that it needs. A giant fish needs ample room to swim around. If it's an aquarium with plenty of space, that's a little different. Like, I can understand that. Like a chimpanzee, it's very difficult to justify a small, cramped cage. Um, I'm very torn on a lot of this. But let me know what you think down below. Let me know how you feel about this situation, and if this rings any bells with you, if this hits you in your feels. Because if it doesn't, I think it needs to hit you in your feels in some sort of way. I think even people who don't like these animals can still understand that this is an incredible thing that needs to be understood. I don't know. This is more of just this is a happy ending. and hopefully Vanilla gets to live the rest of her life, which they can live for a pretty decently long time. Hopefully gets to live the rest of her life in a way that she is happy. I hope so. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Go check out my Discord. Link will be in the description below. And I will see you on the next one. Stay wild.